Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge and welcome to another recommendations video. In this video today we are going to be talking about winter romances. So these romances will take place primarily during the cold seasons of the month or in places that are cold most of the time. Hint, hint. Some of these will involve Christmas, but there actually is only one that is like technically a Christmas romance, even though some of the other ones, like, because they're winter, Christmas exists. But I am not quite ready to do a completely holiday romance focused one. So let's go ahead and dive in. And we will start with the most Christmassy one that there is, and that's A Merry Little Meet Cute by Julie Murphy and Sierra Simone. So I actually have a lovely signed copy of this one because my friend Amanda and Taji went to a book signing with them. So this was really cute. I had a great time with this book. I had been anticipating it quite a bit. I was really intrigued. I actually did get to listen to an audio arc of this book, which was really cool. So this book, it's so fun too, the physical one. There's like a map inside it and everything. But this one is about the making of kind of like a Hallmark type movie. But it ends up having a pretty interesting cast. So our heroine is actually a sex worker. So she has what is basically an OnlyFans. It's called Behind Closed Doors, and she wants to get into filmmaking that isn't of the erotic kind. And a guy that she works with in the corn industry, he ends up getting her cast kind of accidentally in this film. And then her co-star is a previous teen star. His name is let me see, her name is Bianca. His name is, her name is B. Her film persona is Bianca. The hero in this is Nolan, and he was a like child pop star until his career kind of like blew up a little bit because of his own making and a little bit because of other things. You know, things got a little bit crazy. And anyway, so they go to this small town to film it, and when they meet each other, it turns out that Nolan is a subscriber and basically a patron of B. So he knows exactly who she is. And so he's a little bit starstruck because it's his favorite porn star who he's a co-star with. And so he doesn't want to embarrass her, but he also is like, he's a fan, and then she's a fan of his because she loved his music and stuff when she was young. So they're just very cute and awkward together, and I just had a really good time with this book. I mean, the thing is that the hero, he really can't be involved in any more scandal if he wants to keep his name out of the mud, and he has more reasons for needing to keep his name out of the mud than, like, it's not like he's embarrassed to be falling for her, but his career, because it's been so rocky, and actually the band had a lot of their money stolen by their manager. And so, like, there's people who rely on him. So he needs to be careful with ruining his reputation because there's other people relying on him. But I had a great time with this. The audiobook was really good. So yeah, highly recommend. This was really fun. Then let's go through these here. So this is, I know I always hate showing these covers, but guys, I promise, especially if you love forced proximity and winter focused romances, you have to give this series a try, okay? Because I'm going to show you the cover and you're going to be like, ooh, but the books are great. Okay, the books are great. So this is Lethal Balance by Cherise Sinclair, okay? I know, the cover's awkward. What's up with the eyebrow? What's up with the fake tan that's going on? The knife placement, it's strange, okay? I know it. But this is actually book 2 in the Sons of the Survivalist series. You could just jump into this one, but if you go further in the series than this, you should read them in order. But pretty much all of these books are like winter focused or forced proximity type things, because there's this small town and there are these 4 brothers. Now these brothers, they're all adopted. They were adopted by this survivalist who kind of rescues them from foster care. They're in an abusive home and he happens to be around when he sees something go down, and so he like beats up the foster dad who's trying to attack them, and he takes them with him. He gives them the option. He's like, come live with me, I'll show you how to survive, I will keep you away from the world and all of that jazz. So they all go with him. And now many years later, the father has died, and they all are kind of called back to this small town by him to help revive this small town, which has, you know, died a little bit here. So this one specifically is about Cazador, who was an assassin, and now he's actually a registered nurse. And so he's really the only like medical care in this small town. So he has a small practice where he will see people like at a clinic. And then our heroine, her name is JJ, and she is actually a police officer. And so she gets hired by our hero from the first book, actually, because he was the only sheriff in town, literally, and he needs some help. And so she moves there, and she needed to move because basically she had a relationship with a coworker where she lived, and when things went badly, she was mocked and mistreated and basically like put in very dangerous situations by the men that she worked with. So she's moving to this new town and she wants a fresh start. And that means not falling for one of the popular guys in town, because she's like, if it goes badly, I'll have to start my life all over again. Then these are also a little bit romantic suspense, because there is this group of religious extremists who live not far outside of town who have, who are very sexist, and they don't want to listen to a female law officer. They don't want to listen to the regular law officer. So there's that. And yeah, things get a little bit dangerous for us along the way, you know, but I love this series so much. And a lot of them take place during winter because they're up in Alaska, you know, there we go. Then I'm gonna do it. I'm mentioning it. I'm doing it. There's Credence by Penelope Douglas. Wow, I haven't talked about Credence on my channel in so long. This was my very first like why choose romance that I read, because I did not know what I was getting into. But yeah, so this one is about our heroine Tiernan, who her parents do basically a double suicide and leave her alone. And her parents were very wealthy, and she was very on her own. And she actually has a step uncle who is her only family, and she's not quite 18 yet, so she can't really like live on her own. So she moves to the mountains of Colorado with her father's stepbrother, right? So her step uncle Jake and his two sons who are about her age, Noah and Caleb. And the thing is, for a good 4 or 5 months of the year, they're basically snowed in where they live. So at different points, our heroine has feelings for and or sexual relations with all three of them at different points. So that happens. And this book, man, this book, I don't know if I could ever read it again with the same like gusto that I read it before, but I did have a good time with it at the time. So I would still recommend this as a winter type romance, you know, and some people still love it. So there's no shade for it at all. No shade. We have the Whiteout as well as Uncharted by Adriana Anders. I really wish she would write more in the series because I love it. Survival Instincts, that's what these are called. But this one is a romantic suspense as well. And so this one takes place in, is it Antarctica or the Arctic? Wherever is the one where you can go. But Angel Smith, okay, it's Antarctica. She's actually like a cook up there, I believe. And something goes crazy, something goes down when everyone's supposed to be like leaving for the hardest part of winter, and there is some illegal activity that's going on, and she ends up getting caught up in what's happening and almost killed. And then we have Ford Cooper, who he is usually someone who will like stay there the whole time, but then when things go down, like they have to try to make it to safety and to try to tell someone what was going on, like what was happening, and they end up needing to make a very dangerous trek across Antarctica to get to a safer place. So forced proximity, survival, wintertime, The audiobook for this was really, really good. It is definitely a slow burn scenario, but it really, really worked for me. And actually, the book is only this long. There's a short story that comes in at the end of it. But I really enjoyed these. So, highly recommend both Whiteout and Uncharted. And like I said, I want there to be more of those books. Then I actually have a historical for you. This one is Bewitching by Jill Barnett. And I recently remembered this book the other day. This is a book that I really loved when I read it. And this one is about this witch whose name is Joy. Her name is Joy. I just love that. And she is this beautiful little green-eyed beauty, and she just appears from nowhere in front of Alec, who is a duke. And she is also Scottish, and her grandmother had been a Locksley. So she has a very fine bloodline as well. And so she's definitely not proper enough to be a duchess, but he wanted to marry her anyway because he just became like really fascinated by her, even though he doesn't quite believe that she is a witch by any means, even though she keeps doing all of these crazy things. And like when they have sex and they orgasm, like petals fall on them, like it's amazing. But this one, it does take place in winter, and when she first appears in front of him, like a tree had fallen in front of his carriage, and she just appears, like her magic like brought her to him. It's very interesting. It's very sweet. And I really liked it. It made me so happy. It made me smile. And I want to read more by this author. I really do. Because I really liked it. It was so sweet. Then I have a book that I just recently read. And this one takes place mostly during the winter time. Although it isn't as like snow and winter focused as this one was. But that's going to be Tempt by Melanie Harlow. I'm very excited to be talking about this book. This book just came out the other day. And this one is an age gap. It's an ex's dad. It's a plus size heroine. It's long distance. It is a hidden relationship, but boy did I love it. So our heroine, Millie, I keep wanting to call her Winnie, but Millie and Zach, they meet at a hotel bar and they end up having a one-night stand, and they are just really enamored with each other. But they live pretty far away from each other, literally on opposite coasts. And so their relationship is kind of doomed. But then Zach is invited to his son's wedding. He was estranged from him until very recently. And when he goes to be there for this wedding weekend, he discovers that the beautiful woman he can't get out of his head, she is not only her son's ex, but is the wedding planner for his son's wedding. And they are like, this is fate that we should meet again, but also there are too many other people involved that we could hurt, aka his son that he's just connected with. And so they decide that nothing can happen, but their chemistry is just too good for them to turn away from, and their relationship goes from there. So I really loved this. It had the perfect amount of angst, but yet sweetness, and I really love their friendship. I've never read like a long distance relationship like this where I felt so invested. I normally would hate to read a long distance relationship. Like I wouldn't like that, but it works in this one for me because of how much they talk with each other and how much they grow to care for each other and just want the best for the other person. Like it just really spoke to my heart. It really worked for me. Then we have The Midwinter Mail Order Bride by Katie Wilde. This is just a little shorty, takes place in winter. This warlord needs a bride, and so he gets given one. And is it going to work? Isn't it going to work? You check it out and find out. I don't want to say too much about it because it's a pretty short, it's a novella length, so don't want to ruin that for you. Into the Storm by Melanie Harlow. This one is a accident in wintertime scenario. Our heroine is fleeing from an abusive husband, and she gets in an accident and actually gets amnesia. Our hero is an agoraphobic and a reclusive writer, so he lives on his property. He doesn't venture outside of his property. He has enough money that he can have things, you know, delivered to him. And when he's out like plowing, because like he's just plowing right outside his area, he sees a car that has like hit a tree, and inside is this woman. And at first he's very like upset because he doesn't want to deal with people, but he brings her into his home and he can't help but fall for her, and she doesn't know who she is. So he falls for her, and when the truth comes out about her past, something's gonna happen. But this is when I was on a Melanie Moreland binge earlier this year, and I fell for this so much. I listened to the audiobook. And this book is mostly told from the hero's point of view. There's only a few chapters from the heroine's point of view, and I really liked that. I really liked it. Then we have another novella that I'll just mention real quickly, and that is Loving the Mountain Man by Adriana Anders. And this one is about Krista, and she goes to, it's supposed to be the holiday party for her business. Well, it ends up getting canceled because of a storm, and when she's trying to leave, because I can't remember if it's her boss or someone in the company, but it's someone above her, who everyone else knew it was canceled, but he didn't tell her because he wanted them to be stuck alone at this like bed and breakfast place or wherever it's this lodge it's being hosted at. And so she's disgusted by this. So she's like, I am not staying on this mountain with this dangerous man. So she gets back in her car and is going to try to leave, even though it's extremely dangerous. And what happens? She goes off the road. And what happens? She ends up in the cabin of a mountain man for Christmas. So there we go. Enjoy. And then the last one I want to mention, this one is a pretty dark romance, so be prepared. This one is Wilderness by Lynn Burke. And this is book 1 in the, I can't remember what the series is called, but all 3 books are pretty dark, and all 3 books take place in like rural Alaska, of course, during winter time at some point. And they all have some kind of accident that happens where we're like having forced proximity as well. So our heroine, she is a pilot actually, and our hero is going to stay at a small cabin to just get away from the world and like reset his life, because he's had some pretty intense things happen in his life. And before he goes to stay in the middle of nowhere, he has a one-night stand with a lady at a bar, and it turns out that that lady is his pilot. And because he kind of like runs out on her because he thinks he's late for his flight, he runs out on her without like saying anything, and then she wakes up and realizes she's late for bringing her client to their home, and so they have an awkward ride to where he will be staying. And so then we have parts of this where he's living alone in this cabin, and like she's the one who brings his supplies. And at one point when she stops to bring stuff in, like there's an accident, and so they end up having to stay together in his cabin until she gets better. So there you go. So there you go. Those are 10 romances that take place during winter, but not necessarily Christmas. And if you would like to check out more romances that have a vibe like this, because a lot of these are basically forced proximity, right? I just also did a video that was forced proximity romances that are a lot along the lines of these as well. But thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure you are subscribed to my channel. I put up new videos 4 times a week usually. And if you'd like to support what I do here, I have a Patreon and channel memberships because I do this full time. So anything you can send my way is extremely helpful. And a huge thank you to the people that already support me. You help me live my dreams every day. Thanks so much for watching, friends. Bye.